Can you change the wiring of your brain simply by thinking about it? That was the question I set out to investigate in a recent experiment. A group of individuals with no prior experience playing the piano was divided into 4 categories. The plan was to scan their brains before and after a 2-week practice period, during which they would spend 2 hours each day following specific instructions. The results were fascinating. The first group was tasked with practicing scales and chords one-handed exercises. They diligently played these exercises for 2 hours every day over the course of 2 weeks. When their brains were scanned again after this period, something remarkable had occurred. New circuits had formed in their brains, ones that had never been activated before. This makes perfect sense, because learning involves creating new connections. By repeating the exercises, these connections were maintained, leading to what we call memory. The second group, however, had a different experience. They were also instructed to play the piano for 2 hours a day, but without any specific guidance. They were free to play whatever they wanted. Surprisingly, when their brains were scanned again, there were no significant changes. They couldn't remember what they had learned or played the previous day because there was no structure or instruction to guide their progress. Without a solid foundation of knowledge, their circuits remained unchanged. The third group took a completely different approach. They were told not to show up for practice at all. Unsurprisingly, nothing changed in their brains. Without any effort or engagement, the brain remained stagnant. Finally, the fourth group was given a unique task. They were instructed to come in for 2 hours of practice each day, just like the others, but with a twist. Instead of physically playing the piano, they were asked to mentally rehearse the same exercises repeatedly. They were even nudged to stay awake during these mental rehearsals. After 2 weeks, their brains were scanned again, and the results were astonishing. The same area of the brain associated with playing the scales lit up as if they had been physically performing the exercises. In other words, just by thinking and mentally rehearsing, they had grown new circuits in their brains. This experiment underscores the fact that every time we learn something new, our brain forms new connections. Learning is all about creating these neurological connections, while memory is about maintaining and strengthening them through repetition. The more we repeat an activity or thought, the more sustainable and ingrained those circuits become. The individuals who dedicated themselves to mental rehearsals made it a priority in their lives. They sacrificed social engagements and leisure activities, choosing instead to mentally rehearse their ideal selves every single day. By doing so, they allowed those circuits to light up and become the foundation for their future selves. During these intense mental rehearsals, something interesting happened. The participants became so engrossed in their practice that they lost track of time and space. They were so deeply focused that when they opened their eyes or returned to reality, it felt like only a few minutes had passed, even though hours had gone by. This state of complete involvement is what neuroscientists call entering the quantum field, and it is in this state that we can rewire and reprogram our brains. In this heightened state of focus, the frontal lobe, which is responsible for thought and decision-making, becomes highly active. It quiets down other areas of the brain, such as the motor and emotional centers, allowing thought to take center stage. As we hold on to that focused thought in the frontal lobe, the rest of the neurons in the brain start to pattern and create circuits that align with that thought. These circuits then act as a blueprint for our focused intention. When we create new circuits in our brain through this process, it opens up the possibility of perceiving things that were already present, but when unnoticed. Our wiring influences how we perceive the world around us. For example, someone who constantly practices the victim mentality will become adept at it, and it will become their default mode of perception. So the power to change our brain lies in our ability to think, rehearse, and repeat. By dedicating ourselves to focused mental rehearsals, we can create new circuits and reshape our perception of reality. Imagine if your brain circuits were altered, allowing you to see things from a completely different perspective. Would you be open to such a transformation? Let's consider an example. Imagine I show you a magnificent painting by Monet and ask you to admire its beauty. Without a doubt, you would appreciate its artistic brilliance. But what if I then asked if you knew anything about Monet himself? Did you know that he dedicated 44 years of his life to teaching himself how to see the world differently? It's a fascinating journey of self-discovery that adds a new layer of depth to his artwork. In a similar vein, people have various interpretations of love. Some perceive it as a need, while others view it through a lens of sexuality, control, dominance, or success. These differing perspectives lead to contrasting experiences that may not truly align with the concept of love. Allow me to share my theory on relationships, which emerged during my 3-week tour in Australia, where I appeared on numerous television and radio shows. During my stay in Sydney, I found myself engaged in a conversation with an attractive CNN reporter. She expressed her frustration in not being able to create the ideal relationship she desired. In response, I posed a fundamental question: would you go out with yourself? This question encapsulates a crucial aspect of any relationship. I firmly believe that a relationship should never feel like work. If you find yourself constantly putting in effort and struggling to make it work, something may be amiss. Instead, when both individuals bring their best selves to the table and celebrate life together, the result is constructive interference. This synergy fosters growth and energy within the relationship. However, if you find yourself in a situation where you're not at your best, it's essential to take a step back and reconnect with your heart rather than picking apart the other person or the relationship. It's better to focus on self-improvement. Sometimes we may need a mirror or a reflection to recognize aspects of ourselves that may be hidden from view. In these instances, a healthy conversation can ensue when the invitation to contribute is extended. Conversely, if you're not invited to share your opinion, it's best to refrain from doing so. Many individuals claim they desire a loving relationship, but in truth, they seek happiness. We engage in meditations to manifest love in our lives. Whether it's in our familial bonds, friendships, or romantic partnerships, understanding the relationship between our thoughts and feelings is crucial. Thoughts generate an electrical charge in the quantum field, while feelings emit a magnetic charge. This electromagnetic signature influences every atom in our lives. Our thoughts and signals outward, and our feelings create a magnetic field that draws corresponding events back to us. If you find yourself in a place where love for life, self, or the practice of reducing emotional reactions is lacking, and instead anger, hostility, judgment, or fear prevail, it becomes challenging to attract a loving relationship. In fact, if you believe that external circumstances or other people dictate your emotional state, you inadvertently relinquish control over your thoughts and feelings. Any force that controls our thoughts and emotions turns us into victims. Sadly, most people unconsciously react to their environmental conditions, experiencing emotions derived from stress hormones. These emotions create a sense of separation from our dreams and heighten our sensitivity. If we cannot perceive our dreams, we believe they don't exist. The perceived threat or danger triggers our emergency response, further weakening our organism. While positive thinking and signaling our desires into the quantum field are essential, we must ensure our response to the environment doesn't weaken our being. It's vital to strengthen our organism and maintain a balanced, empowered state to draw the experiences we desire back into our lives.